It is 3 in the morning and the world is asleep. But you are wide awake, and you are not alone. You are in a courtroom in your mind, and an old case has been reopened. You are replaying an argument from 3 weeks ago or 3 years ago. You are carefully, meticulously crafting the perfect response, the one witty comeback or profound and devastating truth that you could not find in the moment. The words you wish you had said are so clear now, so sharp and articulate. The conversation is a ghost, but it haunts the quiet rooms of your mind, refusing to rest. If you have ever found yourself in this sleepless, solitary courtroom, you have likely asked yourself a weary question. Why do I keep replaying old arguments or unspoken words in my head long after the moment is past? It is easy to label this as overthinking, to scold yourself for being obsessive or for not being able to just let it go. But what if this endless mental replay is not a sign of a flaw? What if it is the tireless, desperate work of a mind that is simply trying to find a sense of closure or safety? You are not broken for doing this. You are simply experiencing the quiet ache of an unfinished conversation. Let's give this pattern a name. We can call it conversational rumination. It is the mind's compulsive need to revisit past interactions. This is not the same as gentle reflection, where we learn from a past experience and then integrate it. Rumination is a loop. It is a stuck record, playing the same painful melody over and over again. The mind gets caught in this loop for several reasons. Sometimes it is trying to win the argument in retrospect, to regain a sense of power in a situation where it felt helpless. Other times, it is desperately trying to understand what happened, searching the memory for clues it might have missed.
And often it is a rehearsal, a space to finally say all the important things that were left unsaid. At its core, this pattern is often driven by a deep human need for control and a profound discomfort with ambiguity. Life is messy. Conversations end without clear resolutions. People misunderstand us. We leave things unsaid. For a mind that craves order and certainty, these loose ends can feel deeply unsettling, even threatening. The ruminating mind is like a detective who refuses to close an unsolved case. It believes that if it just thinks about it long enough, hard enough, it can solve the puzzle. It can find the perfect sequence of words that will retroactively fix the past, that will finally bring a sense of peace. But the peace never comes because the courtroom is in your own head, and the trial has no end. This pattern is often linked to a tendency toward conflict avoidance. For many of us, real-time confrontation is terrifying. The thought of expressing a difficult emotion or a dissenting opinion directly to someone can feel overwhelmingly risky. So we stay silent in the moment. We swallow our words. We choose the temporary safety of agreeableness. The argument you have in your head at 3 in the morning is the argument you were too afraid to have in person. The mental replay becomes a safer, albeit lonelier, substitute for the real conversation. In the courtroom of your mind, you can finally be angry, as heard, or as articulate as you want to be, with no risk of a real-world consequence. The rumination is not the problem itself. It is a symptom of a deeper fear of authentic expression. But we can reframe this experience with more compassion. These mental loops are not a sign of obsession or a flaw in your thinking. They are a sign of a deep and legitimate need. They are a sign of your need for resolution. They are the voice of a part of you that longs to feel heard, to feel understood, and to have your experience validated. When you replay an argument, you are often just trying to give that wounded part of you the final word. You are trying to be the lawyer, the judge, and the jury for your own pain, because in the original moment, you felt you had none. Seeing your rumination not as a malfunction, but as a misguided attempt to meet a real need is the first step toward finding a kinder way to give yourself that sense of closure. It is a common myth that if you just had more self-control, you could force your mind to stop replaying these conversations. We often treat these thoughts as invaders that we must fight off, but as we know from the law of reversed effort, what we resist persists. The very act of trying to force a thought out of your mind is what gives it more energy. It is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The struggle is exhausting, and the moment you relax your effort, the thought springs back up with even more force. The path to releasing these loops is not through a battle of wills. It is through a gentle, compassionate disengagement. Imagine you have a recurring mental replay of a time a friend said something that hurt you. The old pattern is to get caught in the loop for hours, feeling the anger and hurt as if it were fresh. You might tell yourself to stop thinking about it, which only makes the thought louder. Now, imagine a different approach. When the memory arises, you simply notice it. You don't engage. You don't judge. You just say to yourself, the hurt friend story is playing again. You acknowledge it, and then you gently guide your attention back to the present moment, to the feeling of your feet on the floor. You are not pushing the thought away. You are simply choosing not to serve it tea. You are letting it be a passing cloud, not a storm you have to live inside. So how do we begin to practice this gentle disengagement? One powerful tool is a completion journaling exercise. This is a way to give your mind the closure it is so desperately seeking in a safe and private space. Take out a notebook and write a letter that you will never send. Write it to the person from the unfinished conversation. Pour onto the page everything you wish you had said. Do not censor yourself. Express the anger, the hurt, the disappointment, the explanations. Hold nothing back. Give that unheard part of you its voice. Then, when you feel that you have said everything, you can add another step. Turn to a fresh page and write a compassionate response back to yourself from the perspective of an imaginary, wise, and unconditionally loving friend. What would this friend say to you after reading your letter? They would likely validate your feelings. They would acknowledge your pain. They would offer you comfort and understanding. This act of self-compassion can be profoundly healing. It allows you to give yourself the validation you were seeking from the other person. You are completing the conversation within yourself. Another practice is to create a ritual of release. When you find yourself stuck in a loop, write the central repeating thought down on a small piece of paper. Seeing the thought outside of your head can help you to separate from it. Then create a simple symbolic act of letting it go. You might safely burn the paper and watch the smoke dissipate, imagining your attachment to the thought dissipating with it. Or you might tear the paper into tiny pieces and let them go in the wind. This is not magic. It is a tangible, physical act that sends a powerful message to your unconscious mind. I have heard this story. I am now choosing to let it go. The journey away from the ache of unfinished conversations is a journey toward the peace of the present moment. It is the practice of learning to be the compassionate observer of your mind, rather than a prisoner of its loops. It is about understanding that your mind's desire to replay the past is a beautiful, if misguided, attempt to protect you and to heal you. By giving that need for resolution a safe and conscious outlet, you can begin to release your grip on the stories of yesterday. You can learn to trust that it is safe to leave some cases unsolved, some words unsaid. The past is a library, not a courtroom. You can choose to learn from its stories without having to endlessly relitigate them. What if peace is not found in winning the old argument? What if it is found in the quiet, courageous choice to simply leave the courtroom and walk back out into the gentle, unfolding mystery of your own life?